Well, it certainly is good to return to the historic Farley Castle circuit, the home of many famous British 500 GPs. It's nearly 10 years now since the West Wilts Club ran a national. Although many of the top riders were away competing in 125 and 250 GPs, and unfortunately some of the top 500 competitors decided to stay away. Well, as the first race got underway, it was 17-year-old Midlander Ricky Priest who led the field, followed by Danny Smith. Matt Bates, riding the air-cooled 500WR Yamaha, was also in there, along with Yamaha-mounted Carl Presswood, returning to racing after a series of injuries. It was Priest and Smith who fought an intense battle for first place, but Priest never put a foot wrong, and it was Smith who made several mistakes. Well, the pressure continued. Smith right behind young Priest, both fairly young riders. Priest, a very successful schoolboy rider of 1990 and 1989. The battle continued behind. Greg Hansen was in there as well, beginning to pull through the field, along with Warren Edwards and Lee Morrison. Priest retained his supremacy at the front, and despite his attempts to stay with him, the pressure told on young Danny Smith, and he dropped back through the field on the last couple of laps, allowing number 18 Matt Bates on the 500WR Yam to come through to second, and Greg Hansen riding the Ford & Ellis 500 Kawasaki into third. So a great result for the youngster as the two more senior men closed in on him for the checkered flag, but he held them off and took that first place. Well, Danny Smith followed home by Lewis King and their Barry Johnson on the Suzuki. Well, race two came up onto the line. Under starters' orders, the gate about to drop, and it does, they're away. Priest it is in good shape once again. He's in the lead. Greg Hansen there with him in second place. The two Kawasaki's neck and neck, the youngster and the more senior rider. As they come into the right-hander by the tyres, they're the two front leaders, and it's Bates that goes down. Matt Bates drops the bike, looks back in despair at the rest of the riders, probably thinking, will you just let me get back on my bike and get back in the race? So it was Hansen and young Priest battling at the front until Hansen found a way through. Dropped Priest back into second. Then he came under pressure from the TK Landscapes KTM rider Mark Banks from Bury St Edmunds. Behind Banks there, Lee Morrison, the youngster, another one of the upgraded youth riders from 1990. And the battle really started to rage. Banks a non-scorer in the first race with the rear shock problem. Priest now relegated down to third, so Hansen, and the battle was on now between the Kawasaki and the KTM of Banks. Neck and neck they went, corner to corner around this Farley Castle circuit. The former four-stroke champion riding the Kawasaki 29, Greg Hansen, who incidentally now is an amateur rider. Has a full-time job during the day. He says that I don't want to travel, I just don't have the time to train, to take the sport as seriously as I used to. But nevertheless still puts in some very creditable rides. Look at the battle, they're on neck and neck again. And Hansen pulls back the lead, into the corner, out breaks Banks' KTM into that left-hander. Banks will come back on the right-hander. He does, tries to tuck it on in the inside and holds him off. This is how it stayed, lap after lap. Had the spectators on their feet. Enthralling 500cc racing, and some of the best we've seen for many a year. Banks took back the lead, Hansen back into second, but he was having none of it. He wanted the win. The Ford & Ellis Kawasaki 500 of Greg Hansen's, snarling at the back door of that TK Landscapes KTM. Hansen comes back. Banks blocks him out. He tries again. This is what 500cc racing is all about. And Hansen finds a way through on the inside. Banks lets the KTM slide wide. That was an open door for Hansen, and he took it with thanks. But Banks decides he's not going to let him get away. Comes back after him again. Tries him on the inside. Hansen shuts the door once again. Commentator here at the Farley circuit jumping up and down in his box with so much excitement. This is spectacular stuff. These two riders out there on their own, really providing the Farley crowd with some superb entertainment. Hansen chasing back in second, squirts the power down into the back wheel of the big quacker. Banks hanging on, and he's through again. Hansen outbraked him again. It's almost grass track speedway style around that left-hander for Hansen. Banks comes back again on the inside through the rut. Banks up the inside, Hansen on the outside. Banks uses that 14-stone bulk of his to push Hansen out. 37 there on the Bridgestone Honda. That's Neil Prince and Danny Smith, 33. Prince, the former 1990 schoolboy champion. They're having a superb battle, and Prince finishing third overall on the day. Great result from the youngster. There is Mark Banks, the Barry St Edmunds rider, taking the checkered flag from Greg Hansen, 29, on that Ford and Ellis 500 quacker. What a superb battle those two had. 101. Another one of the youngsters, Lee Morrison. Well, if you want to find out what it's like to ride a motocross bike, there's a simulator that will do just that for you. Race 3 on the line, and they're waiting for the gate to drop. Into the corner they go, one or two already crammed into the bank. But taking an early lead, second race winner, number 14, it is Mark Banks on the KTM. Priest there, 97, with Morrison tucked right up behind him on the Suzuki. These two ex-schoolboys of last year, and very successful schoolboys they were. And Morrison finds a way through on the inside. He must have been watching Hansen in that previous race, because that's where Hansen took Banks each time, and he's done very much the same. Priest coming around on the outside and finds the line through. Still in the lead, down the lead. Look at Morrison trying on the inside. Morrison, he's overdone it. Overbrake the Suzuki, and he's off. Now we've got a real ding-donger here. Bates, from a very poor start, trying to charge through and pick up a few positions. Takes Dave Watson there and Ricky Priest. Goes into the corner, and you'll see there that the back wheel steps out. It tips him sideways, and Dave Watson, with nowhere else to go, just rams Matt Bates' bike, and Ricky Priest, the luckiest rider of the lot, survives. Well, we join Banks back again at the front. That wasn't the only incident that Matt Bates had that day. He had that 500 WR sideways more than once during the race. Here's Hansen. He had a poor start, but he's beginning to pick his way through. He's up with early race leader now, Ricky Priest, the youngster. Well, these two no strangers to having a battle together, the pair of Kawasaki's. Hansen gets past Priest cleanly and away. Trying to pick up valuable positions. Here's a little tussle, 56 Neil Carnell, and that's number 30. That's Russ Jarman on the KTM. Jarman finding his way through with the back end of the bike lifting rather over those braking bumps. Oh, that was close. Carnell stuck the power down into the back wheel and very nearly took Russ Jarman's front wheel off. But Jarman's having none of it. He's coming back up the inside. Tucks it into the rut. Oh dear, looks like he stalled it. Yes, and that's Warren Edwards, 24, that's just come through. But Jarman gets the bike fired up. He's away again. Well, Mark Banks certainly has had no problems at the front whatsoever. Not a repetition to race 2 for Banks, because in the checkered flag with great ease. Well, it was the overall win then for the Kawasaki pilot Greg Hansen. Following in home in second spot, the youngster also with the 250 Maybug trophy was young Ricky Priest. And behind Priest in third, it was Neil Prince. Great day's racing here at Farley, really was.